But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
What's up, Faithful? Welcome to the 49er Faithful UK Live. As always, I'm your host, Paul Hope, and I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Lee Gowland.
Hey, buddy, how are you doing? We need to get Red Jet Shell on here singing the intro. I think she'd love to do that for us.
We missed a trick, Lee. We should have done that at Levi's. We should have got a video of the group singing Red and Gold. It's something I think about every single day. But
that's not a bad shout.
We digress. Faithful, we've reached that awful quiet stage of the NFL. Minicamp has finished, Lee, and our 49ers have broke for about 40 days before the start of training camp. So we decided, everybody, following the recent 49ers State of the Franchise episode, which is on YouTube. If you've not watched it yet, it's well worth a watch. We thought, what better place to revisit on the live than the State of the Franchise? But before I get into all that, Lee, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm not too bad at all, mate. I'm getting excited for football starting in earnest again. I'm getting excited to see what George Kittle's going to post on Instagram over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully he does post something that gets us all excited. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be good to see if it works out. And there's been some interesting questions posed in the group account on Facebook. So yeah, I think everybody's missing football. As you said, it's a bit of a quiet time. The state of the franchise has kind of morphed over the years. I think we'll get into that a little bit later. And I think it's just, at the moment, it's that stagnant period before we get into training camp.
Yeah, like I said, I know the team broke, and we're going to break it all down. I mean, some of the highlights for me, Lee, it was nice to see Nick Bosa at OTAs. As he said on last night's State of the Franchise, he's the elder statesman, as he put it, in the D-line room. And they were talking about Hayes and the rookies, and he was like, none of that, but I'm here to lead by example. And that's got me excited. And like you said, you know, Tracy thinks I'm mad. The girls are sitting down to watch Love Island, and I'm plugging my headphones in to watch State of the Franchise. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed it last night. You mentioned Mr. Kittle. I do have to say, Brock Purdy tipped a nod to the international fan base. But as you said...
You've stolen one of my notes.
But as you said, George Kittle, we're hoping, you've teased, as you do in good fashion, Lee. What are we hoping that Mr. Kittle is going to be sharing? Because we announced it on the pod last week, but some people might not have had time to check the pod out yet.
Yeah, so we're hoping he's going to post a picture of the flag, because we do know he's getting the flag given to him in his hand by his sister, because I've sent the flag over to his sister and she's promised me she'll stick it in his hand sometime this month. She said it was going to be after the mini camp. So obviously the mini camp finished on Friday. So any time from now for the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then hopefully we'll see George with our flag.
So James, we appreciate you joining us live. As we're in the quiet season, I was going to do this at the end, but as you're in the chat, James, we are going to alternate between now and training camp starting. So we'll do a live 1 week. We'll do a pod another week. We could do both, Lee, but as we said on the pod last week, there isn't really the content to kind of do 2 shows a week at the moment. And we don't want to water down what we're trying to achieve. Hence why we're going to talk about it in tonight's State of the Franchise. But James, I hope you enjoy the show. And he had a comment for you on Facebook earlier, Lee, James. I don't know whether you saw that on the group
was this about
page.
the miniskirt? Yeah, I did see that one.
So we have to give him his props. That's what he comes in for on a Wednesday night. So State of the Franchise, Lee. You said it at the start there. It's something that's kind of morphed. I've always kind of circled it on the calendar as that's when kind of OTAs and mini camp ends. And then it's kind of got bigger and bigger. I mean, last night it looked like they had a custom built stage. They had fans in the audience.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it, but what was your thoughts on the current one?
You go back 6-7 years ago, and watching the state of the franchise, you used to be able to get some really interesting information. You used to be able to gauge exactly how the team is feeling going into the new season, whether or not a coach was on the hot seat, that type of thing. But now it just seems to be all about self-promotion, or we are so good, look at us, we're doing a great job. And you don't really get that much benefit from it now. But it is, I mean, it's good watching the players get interviewed. I did particularly like watching the coaches and the front office get interviewed as well. Obviously, we started off with Al Guido, or as Jed calls him, Guides. I'm going to call him Guides from now on. I like that. And I think about the organisation, then obviously the first 10, 15 minutes with Al Guido, I think that was the important thing to watch if you were interested in the organisation, rather than just the team-based activities. But yeah, it's kind of gone more from this is a serious look at the franchise to just ticking off a list of this is what we've achieved, this is how we think it's going, and I've made notes of a few things where I've kind of read behind the lines. Whether or not it's right, don't know. But there were some interesting things that came up.
So you don't think it's just a reflection of where we are as a franchise? I'm on record for saying Kyle Shanahan's king. He's king of the castle. And like you said, we've got a settled team at the moment, Lee. There hasn't been much turnover on the roster. The key coaching change has been promoted from within, which, again, the noise coming from the team is it was a great move. They've brought him in. Apparently, he led the defensive talks for the last so many games. That, I suppose, maybe because I don't do other sports at the moment, having a glimpse behind the curtain. We don't have Hard Knocks on the 49ers. We don't have the All or Nothing Amazon Prime. So to see three of our superstars on the stage, but equally seeing Kyle, John, Jed. I mean, even things like Jed York playing catch in the owner's lounge, because you were trying to steady the ship in Leeds. I was at home pacing the front room, and Jed York sat in the owner's suite throwing a ball to his son and getting Joe Montana telling him, it's going to be all right, lads. We're winning this one. And I thought, how the other half lives. But I quite like those little glimpses, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I did as well. I mean, it does say a lot about how, well, not how relaxed they were, because Kyle turned around and said he was absolutely seething. He thought it was not good enough, went in incredibly angry, bawled them all out, said this is not good enough. If we're going to lose, we're going to lose playing better football than what we're doing at the moment. So that was interesting. But go back to Al Guido. So there's a few things that people have said, and to me, you say them because you want the fan base on the side. And one of the things that Guido said was he doesn't think we can be in a better position than what we are now. What do you make of that? Do you agree with that? Do you think the franchise is in the best possible position and it can't improve?
I think with the NFL, you look at the salary cap, and at the moment, people are saying, Trent Williams is going to get a new deal because it's going to kick some money further down. And I've seen things like guaranteed money is the key. Last week on the pod when Gareth was saying he doesn't understand how we've re-signed CMC, giving him more money, but he counts less against the salary cap. And that's because guaranteed money is king. And it doesn't surprise me that Trent Williams is kind of sniffing around for a new deal. All his guarantees have run out now. I'm not saying he's poor and we need to do a GoFundMe or a tip jar. But I think what the 49ers have found, Lee, they've got that good mix at the moment of renegotiating key players' contracts at the right time, given Brock's rookie deal. I think maybe what he's meaning is at this moment in time, you've got a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, not counting against the salary cap. You've got all your key pieces. They even hold all the cards with Brandon Ayuk, which I know we're not going to get too into it. So maybe that's what he means. And given the fact that, he announced, the Americans were getting quite confused because he kept going on about the World Cup. He was saying, 2026, we've got the World Cup, we've got the Super Bowl. Maybe he means all that kind of stuff. At the moment, as it stands off the field and on the field, they're in the best position they can be. Maybe that's my optimism, Lee, with my glass half full approach and my red and gold rose-tinted glasses.
So to be honest, just underneath that question, I've actually wrote, it's the business side of the franchise. That is what's in the best possible position at the moment, the business side. And what I found was interesting is the actual state of the franchise, which only aired yesterday. That was actually recorded over 1 week ago, so it was recorded before the mandatory training camp.
I thought it was a live thing, you see, because obviously I
Yeah.
wasn't paying too much attention. I just saw the notification flash up because it's been quite quiet. And then, like I said, I hate Love Island, but I love that it's on because Tracy and the girls, every night, the telly downstairs is gone. So I was like, headphones in, and I watched it through. So I thought that was live last night, if I'm being honest.
So I always thought it was live as well. But so there was two presenters. There was Greg Papper and there was MJ. And MJ actually mentioned next week it's mandatory mini camp. And I thought, well, hang on here. We're having another mini camp. Is that like one mini camp a week off and then another one? So I quickly checked and it wasn't. So that meant that this was recorded over a week ago. Which, like I said, I mean, I was like you. I thought it got done live, but obviously it doesn't. And there's reasons for that. I mean, you can get people shouting out while they're asking questions or answering questions, so you can understand that. So again, let's go back to what Gweeds was saying about Levi's 2.0. Obviously, it was in the news not too long ago that the 49ers have asked the NFL for, I don't know if it's a loan or to subsidise improvements to Levi Stadium, which I think at the time we all turned around and said, well, hang on here, it's only 10 years old. What are we doing with this? Well, this Levi's 2.0, the reason they wanted the money was for the Super Bowl and for the World Cup games. And it puts the stadium at the forefront of that list to actually get those. So obviously 2 seasons' time, and the Super Bowl is going to be at Levi's. Next year it's at, or this season I should say, it's in New Orleans, and then next year it'll be back at Levi's. Plus you'll have the World Cup games there as well. So, I mean, it's an exciting time for the 49ers organisation. There's obviously going to be a lot of money rolls their way. How they invest that money and whether or not we see the benefit on the playing side is another thing. I know there's a salary cap, and obviously the money that they get from the Super Bowl and the World Cup doesn't at all go towards the salary cap. But what it does go towards is the training facilities and stuff like that entices players who are in free agency to come and play for the 49ers, because the whole environment's a lot better. And even Kyle and John got into this a little bit later when they were talking about the culture. You surround yourself with the right people. And the way you do that and the way you keep them happy is by making sure that the environment that they're actually working in every day is a really good environment to work in. And I think that's where the investment from the likes of the World Cup and the likes of the Super Bowl, that's where that money's going to go to. And it can only mean good things for the 49ers. It means we continue to attract the best players in free agency, who we obviously want in free agency. And it just means that we're doing this perpetual playoff. Every year we're going to be playoff contenders. So yeah, it's interesting, and I'm glad he brought some of that up.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say there. I mean, Kyle said that, didn't he, when they were asking Kyle about, when John Lynch was interviewed for the job and he was still at Atlanta. Can I get my words out? And he'd said to Jed, "Give us time." He said, "We chose to come here because we wanted to be competitive year in, year out." And that weird COVID year aside, he's delivered on his promise. He's got his team together. And the key thing that I kept coming back to, Lee, I made a note there. John Lynch even said it himself. We surround ourselves with the people we want, the culture. And I took from what Al Guido said about the money that they're investing it in the facilities. They want the 49ers to be a place where people want to come. And like you said, I think they've got a good model at the moment. Kyle Shanahan, players want to play for him. And I was smiling when you mentioned him being angry, because I think Nick Bosa tipped a nod to that. Now, you see Kyle, the bits we see, on the training ground, and we see the footage of him being a player's coach. But I think when he loses his temper, that holds more sway with them, because I think he gives them a lot of a kind of a long leash, for want of a better word. He's not like an Alex Ferguson. He's not, screaming and shouting all the time. But when it needs to be done, and that reassured me listening to that when they said Carl was angry. He didn't just come in and didn't have the answers.
See, I think it was completely the opposite of that. I think Nick Bosa let us into the locker room a little bit more than what we've been in there before. Because when MJ did turn around and say, "Oh yeah, Kyle was a bit pissed when he went down at half time," and the reaction from Nick Bosa seemed to suggest that Kyle gets angry quite a bit and he's not happy quite a bit. So, I mean, that's good to see, because obviously you don't see him really have a go at somebody on the sideline. And I think that's the right thing to do, not have a go at them on the sideline. Use the example you've just given there. Alex Ferguson, he used to save the hairdryer treatment for the locker room, for the dressing room. He didn't want anybody else seeing that because he didn't want to embarrass his players. But once he was in there, he wanted to let his players know exactly what he thought. And if they weren't pulling the finger out, then he told them. And I think Kyle does that. I think he waits until he gets to the locker room before he unleashes his hairdryer treatment. And I think Nick let us into a little bit of insight there into how he actually manages the team out of the view of the public.
So Bebop has joined us. I did see this. I think the NFL do a survey of all the players, and we get graded on certain elements of the organisation. So apparently our training room is currently only graded at a C+ mark at the moment. But no, I think you're right in what you're saying about the whole Kyle Shanahan thing. I mean, you'll chuckle. I'm surprised he's never mentioned it more on the show last week. Dipped my toe into coaching flag football, coaching the youngsters. Someone has to start somewhere. And the approach I've got, Leeds, no point balling someone out. That's not how I would like to be coached. I wouldn't want someone screaming at me when I've made a mistake.
Yeah.
However, there is an occasion where you know yourself playing competitive sport. If you're half-arsing it, you're not putting the effort in. And I did like that Nick Bosa he did it in such a way where he was dead kind of like nonchalant with his voice. But like you said, it was a little glimpse in behind in the locker room.
Never changes. There's no way, if you could tell whether or not he's angry or excited, he's monotone.
Well, to be fair, whenever I hear Nick Bosa speak now, cheeky nod to our friend Steph Sanchez, who the 49ers drafted in for that awesome promo on the season reveal. Big fan of Steph's. I was chatting to her on Instagram earlier and I shared some of her content and she's been blown away by the reaction. But I remember when she was out at the Combine last year and John Lynch went over to her and Jason Aponte and basically said, I know who you are. You're the person that does the Nick Bosa. And apparently it started from there. He got his phone out and he got Steph to kind of do a video call to Nick Bosa. And he was like, I don't sound like that. And I was thinking, you do sound like that. So
yeah, definitely.
So looking on the chat, Red Jet is concerned that the cap space is going to take a hit and fast. That's her concern about Ayuk. Now, to be fair, Red Jet, we've got a competition going at the moment about the numbers that Ayuk will get. And a few people were worried, Lee, that they were going to miss the deadline to enter this competition. Now, I've just picked up my phone and the 49ers contract extensions, George Kittle, August the 13th, Fred Warner, July the 21st, Deebo Samuel, July the 31st, Nick Bosa, September the 6th. The reason I'm reading those dates out, Lee, I'm not worried about Ayuk at the moment because it isn't happening. Nothing's going to happen this side of 40 days.
Oh, I don't know about that. When does training camp start? Start of July, isn't it?
40 days time. They've just broke now and they reckoned about 40 days. To be honest, I went on the 49ers website earlier and they haven't confirmed a date yet.
So what John Lynch did say is we're desperate to get this done before training camp. And I think they'll make the effort to do that as well. Because you saw the impact it had on the likes of Nick Bosa last season. He didn't play. He didn't play up to the level that we'd expect him to play. And that's because he missed pretty much all of camp. So, I can see them getting it done sooner rather than later.
The problem they had with that one, though, Lee, is Bosa was the elite pass rush in the NFL and he wanted that money. And I'm not saying Ayuk isn't elite. You know, I'm a big fan of Brandon Ayuk, but he isn't getting Justin Jefferson money. Now, I'm not an expert in the salary cap. I've seen people in our group asking, you know, is it about, does he want 30, 31, 32 million a year? Does he want a 5-year contract? Does he want guaranteed money? Personally, I think it's about the guaranteed money because I think that's what held the Deebo deal up. I think that's what most people would want if you asked them, do you want the guaranteed money? And I think it's just a case of, I think they're there or thereabouts. I mean, if you're not in our Discord group, do head across to Discord. Cheeky plug for the competition. We've got a Joe Staley bobblehead that we're trying to give away. And there's a competition channel in there. And we just want you to drop what you think Ayuk. Is it the average annual salary we're going for?
It's the average annual salary.
Because I thought I nearly did a side competition tonight. I thought, shall we ask people to tell us the date it'll be announced because I
No,
saw that on Twitter
that's-
earlier. But I was like, I'm causing work for myself, so I
Yeah,
thought,
you are.
no
you
chance.
Are, definitely. On to Jed York. So again, this is something that Gweed's mentioned, but Jed's been honoured in San Francisco. And apparently the York Foundation give out $10 million every single year to different charities, different what's the word I'm looking for? Different
Like foundations, good causes.
different good causes. Yeah, because I mean it's the York Foundation, so they're giving the money out. But yeah, he was honoured in San Francisco earlier this year because they've been doing it for the past 20 years.
Wow.
So that's 200 million they've given out to good causes within San Francisco.
Well, I think I'm probably butchering his name. Al Guido, did he mention it's from like $2 billion that Levi Stadium
that's
brought to? They've been 10 years.
Yeah, the economic impact has been $2 billion over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I thought that was so. Going back to, is there anything that you wanted? You said you had your notes there for state of the franchise, because I have a few things, but I want to ask what you're doing.
Well, I mean, we've kind of covered. Although I do have one start, and it's more of a question for you. I mean, Gweed's turned around and he says he believes Kyle puts us in the best position to win. What's your thoughts on that?
I love Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I don't know whether I'm blinded by the Chip Kelly, Jim Tomsula. I love our head coach, and I think he gets a lot of criticism, Lee, because Sean McVay, who's come from the coaching tree, he's adapted his system to the players. I think it was well documented that when he got there and he was trying to run the same scheme we were running, Cooper Kupp was like third on the depth chart. And he was like, why am I playing two tight ends when I want him on? So apparently McVay's got rid of the personnel grouping and he's just basically gone with his players. Where Kyle Shanahan, well known Lee, that he sticks to his system. His system works and the players will fit into his system. I personally think I've seen growth in Kyle Shanahan. I don't think we thought he would go all in for CMC. We always thought we'd get kind of a plug in and play running back. It didn't matter whether you drove a bus or whether you were running back. If you played in Kyle's system, but we've seen what an elite running back can do in that position. So he's brought in Brandon Staley. He's made the relevant changes to his coaching staff. So if you're trying to trip me into a rabbit hole which says we're getting rid of Kyle Shanahan, you've picked the wrong person. You need Najee or Gareth to come on the show for something like that.
Would you swap him for Andy Reid?
No.
Good answer.
No. And I mean, I don't want to see... I've seen a few people say that Shanahan might need to go somewhere else, like what Andy Reid had to do. But I don't get that parallel. We're not the Eagles. Our fan base isn't the Eagles. And I think Shanahan's got his quarterback. And I am excited about Brock Purdy. I mean, he said himself on the state of the franchise this March last year, he was rehabbing for his elbow. He didn't know when he was going to get back in the playing field. Fast forward a year, he's come off probably the best year of his career. He's healthy, married, so he settled off the field. And he looks good in training camp. He looks like he's buffed up a little bit. It looks like he's got, you said last week, got a bit more of a zip on his arm. And I think Shanahan is going to be more confident this year. And I think we've added to the wide receiver room, Lee, to show a little bit of difference. If you think back to last season, if Ayuk and Debo came off the field, you knew it was a running play.
Yeah.
Where if you add in Cowlin and Purcell, and if they kind of show the promise that we think they can show, Shannon can mix it up a little bit. And I think we're going to see him be a bit more pass heavy this year. So I'm excited.
I think he was a bit more pass heavy last year, never mind this coming season, but you might be right. I think it was something like 57, 43% pass run. So he did go more pass because he had the confidence in Brock Purdy. So I've just put this this comment from Rob Dion. And the reason I find it funny is the first time I went to America, it was in Orlando back in 2012. It was the year before I went to Candlestick. And we're in the Tilted Kilt on International Drive. And on the menu, it had chips. And I thought, chips? Yeah, it had chips.
Yeah. I know where you're going with this. I've done this.
And I thought, you know what? I'm not that hungry. I think I'll just have a little bowl of chips. So I asked for a bowl of chips. I got given a bowl of crisps. I was thinking, what the hell's these? So yeah, I understand what you're saying there, that you're having difficulty getting crisps.
So he put underneath, he settled for chips. To be honest, this is another
Yeah.
reason why we were a bit loose on the state of the franchise. Now, when I went to Orlando in 2005, we made the same mistake. We went to like a sandwich shop. It was before Subway, and I got like a panini and some chips. The look of horror on my face when they brought out a hot sandwich with some crisps. I was like, where's my chips? I'm from North. I need chips and gravy. But yeah, it's quite funny. And Bebop has rescued us from that rabbit hole. He's put the Shani treat is massive. Now, I am going to ask you what you thought of George Kittle outing his sauce. So remember we were running the competition.
I thought that was funny. I thought that was really funny. I mean, when he turned around and says, "Yeah, I've got no loyalty to you, man. This is going straight on Instagram." Yeah, I thought that's typical George. That is typical George. All he's interested in is anybody to do with the 49ers.
Yeah, well,
he won't leak anything from the 49ers, but anywhere else, it's open season. It's fair game.
He's my spirit animal, isn't he? So we were running that competition for the bobblehead, and Kittle leaked it on Instagram. And like you said, a few cheeky entries came in. But as soon as Kittle shared Aaron Rodgers and see you soon, it was like, yeah, we're playing the Jets week 1. And like you said, I just thought that was quite funny because I bet the NFL were kind of rolling their eyes because he let it out, that the cat out of the bag, that they knew 2 weeks prior to all us. Now, I kind of always knew that. But the reason I mentioned it, Lee, and you're probably going to chuckle at this bit, I still have a bone to pick with the NFL UK because I'm still not happy that there's been no response about the Debo video. Now, Simon Brown, who's an admin member, I know what you're going to say if you're watching, Simon. Let it go like Elsa in Frozen. But I run the social media for our group, and I'm very conscious at times of how to word things or how to share things because I know what gets the fan base excited. And you would think the NFL UK, someone's been paid to do that job. And I just think the way they did it, Lee, was a little bit amateur, and it kind of
was. Well, it didn't work. It didn't work because it's so long ago now. If something breaks, everybody's already forgetting about the Debo video.
And
I mean, when you're going to do that, you do that when you're going to announce something within the next 24, 48 hours. You don't do it 2-3 months before you're going to announce something. It just makes no sense. And you're right, it's amateur hour. And to be honest, I think they take the lead, or I think they're trying to replicate the fan group success. Not necessarily ours, but they will look at all of them and look and think, well, what works, what doesn't work. But yeah.
I just thought it was a little bit frustrating because, like you said, they're trying to grow the sport over here, and you see all the good work that they're doing, going into schools, running the flag football. And again, I'm just a fan. I have reached out to them. I've sent them a couple of DMs. I tell you what frustrated me as well. When we went out to Levi's last year, I reached out to them, said, there's 40 of us going across. You can have all the footage. You can retweet it. You can share. And then I saw on their Instagram a couple of days ago something about what's the furthest you've traveled as a fan. So again, I sent them the picture, I sent them the background story, and you think, kind of like you're trying to grow the sport. Yeah, I'm here telling you that there was 40 people from a fan group in the UK. Do you not want to know anymore? Do you not want to use it?
It's too much work for them. You would have to provide them with the story, so all they need to do is upload it. That's what they would expect.
But anyway,
and I think that's what Simon was getting at as well.
So it is.
Anyway, back to the franchise.
I was going to say, it is. Well, the reason I mentioned it, because it's kind of the state of the franchise with us, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. I just wanted to let Simon know that I'm not frustrated in an angry way. It's something that, because it's the quiet off-season, I'm going to keep poking the bear. And I will get either blocked, like Gary Thorpe, who proudly told me he's been blocked by them. But yes, going back, so we had the Kittle. I'm trying to think on my notes.
Well, I've got something else about, how I said at the start. I mean, the state of the franchise has now become for the want of the better word, a dick measuring contest in some respect. We just kind of blown up all of our achievements. We've done this, we've done that. We're the best. We're going to be in the playoffs. We got all the best players. And Jed came out with something, and straight away, I thought he's not even close to what he's just said there. And Jed turned around and made the bold claim that we've got the best home field advantage in the NFL. And I mean, straight away, I can think of six teams that have got a better home field advantage than us. And that's purely because our stadium isn't built to win football games. It's built to host concerts. So I think he was quite wide of the mark there. And you do get that they do say some things and you think, oh, you're living in a different world. If that's what you believe, then your advisors aren't telling you the truth. Because if you've got a right-hand man, what do you call him on Game of Thrones? Hand of the King.
Yeah, I think
Hand
so.
of the King, yeah, something like that. The Hand. If your Hand of the King is telling you we've got the best home field advantage in the whole of the NFL, sack them, fire them. They don't know what they're talking about. But that's the type of thing, that's the type of boast you get now on State of the Franchise. We've got the best home field in the NFL. We've got the best fans. Okay, so they're right about that one. We do have the best fans, but we don't have the best home field. And it's just little things like that I find interesting. Something that came up, and I like this idea actually, and it's something that obviously we always do at the start of the new season when we're going through free agency and the draft. And both John and Kyle were in agreement that they'd prefer the draft before free agency because they'd like to get the main gaps in the draft rather than free agency, and use free agency only where they feel as though they've failed in the draft or they haven't done enough in the draft. And I think that's an interesting concept because I think that would work. But I don't know how long it would take to get that mindset turned round.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm smirking because you're going on about advisors and right-hand men. Could be worse, Lee. Rishi Sunak's advisors could be the ones advising Jed York. So, I mean, I'm not political at all, but I've had a good chuckle at Martin Hughes, Neil Graham, and some of the gaffes that our unelected Prime Minister, who's on the election role at the moment, making a lot of mistakes. But I think they were tipping a nod to the fan base. I mean, we travel well. Obviously, I thought it was nice when Brock Purdy tipped a nod to the international fan base. Yeah. And I know he didn't just mean me and us. He means the Danish supporters. He means the Irish supporters, the Mexican supporters, the Germans. So again, sometimes I'm guilty on this show of going on about the 49er Faithful UK, but I'm quite proud of our links to those groups that I've just mentioned to you there. We're all 49ers fans. Yeah. I mean, in the 40 that came out to the gold mine last year, there was Kim, there was, come on, Lee, you're better with names.
There was Kim, Bo, Thomas. We also had our US friends join us, obviously John Chapman, Ty Olsen,
TED Talks
Ball, Bonnie McClory.
Yeah, John's mate, the coach.
Yeah, Chris. Who else? Oh, Crystal, my friend. Crystal, she came out and joined us. And we had a few. So it's a good group that we've got going there. And you're right, it's all international fans. Obviously, those weren't international, they're all US based. But we've got our German friends, we've got our Danish friends, we've got friends in Italy, Spain, Sweden, everywhere.
So the reason I mentioned that is I know Kim has started his own channel, and me and yourself have both said that we'll support that where we can. The next few weeks, we are going to have some guests on our channel. So Kim, I'm hoping he can join us, might reach out to the Irish Faithful and some of the others that are trying to kind of replicate where we started to where we've come from. And I wanted to tip a nod. And for me, Lee, getting the picture at the Golden Gate Bridge with the Danish fans flag was a highlight of mine last year. And I know Bo was blown away. He sent me a Facebook friend request after that and was like, you lads were so welcoming. Thank you for flying the flag. And they've added me to their group. I'll admit I have to translate everything.
Yeah,
because...
me too. Me too.
But I do appreciate that I'm in that group. And when we ask him the question, he's always good enough to tell us what the answer is. So I just wanted to kind of tip a nod to them guys. Yeah. So Kev has joined us and he's put NFL UK, 2 busy shows that Harry Kane likes the NFL and they're more bothered about the celebrity endorsements than the fans. And Red Jet Shell, we're working on getting a group over this year. I don't think we've had an update yet, have we, Lee?
No, we won't get that until the middle of August. And at the moment, I'm just hoping that I actually make it out there because that's nowhere near guaranteed this year. In fact, at the moment, I would say I'm more likely not going to be there. I'm just going to organise it and make sure everybody's got transport and everything like that. and I think it's probably going to be next season by the time I get out there again.
So the reason I segued into that, Lee, is I told you off air that it's always been a dream of mine to see the UK faithful represent as many games as we can. And I know in the Facebook group, you'd put up a post and you'd ask people to say which games they were going to. So this afternoon on my lunch break, I always do exciting things on my lunch break on a Wednesday. I went and looked at that poll and I was quite impressed to see that we've got people at the moment have said that they're going to 13 out of the 17 regular season games. We've also got 2 people who have said they're going to the Super Bowl. So I thought that made me chuckle. But at the moment, we're only missing representation against the Rams week 3, the Patriots week 4, the Bears week 14, and at the moment the Cardinals week 18. Other than that, there's been at least a couple of people indicate that they're going out. Now, what I will say at this point, Lee, they need to get a flag. If you haven't got a flag, do go check out Lee's video. And on that side note, Chris.
So I'm just looking for the link so I can stick it in Discord now.
So we will do that for you, Chris. So he's put there that he's about to do a European trip. We want to get some pictures. So in the Discord channel, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever your social media is, if you were going anywhere this summer and you've got a flag, take a photo, tag me in it, and I will share it on all our social media platforms because we do like to fly the flag. It's always good when you go somewhere and another Niners fan comes up to you and speaks to you, like you mentioned on the pod. Was it 3 different people in Florence came up to you and talked about Niners?
Yeah, couldn't believe it. Absolutely gobsmacked. I mean, that full week I was away, I think 4 out of the 6 ports we went into, I met a Niner fan.
So Red Jet Shell has said, even though you might not be going out this year, Lee, she's holding you to the photo walk challenge.
That'll definitely happen. Chris, if you go to Discord and you go to the Flying the Flag chat channel, I've put the link in there. So you'll be able to order the flag. Now, if you're not on Facebook, you're going to need the file as well. Let's see if I can attach the file in there as well.
Well, Lee, whilst you're busy sorting that out, buddy, we have reached that part of the show, which is very important. So this is a quick advertisement. We have reached that part of the show where I need to talk about our awesome partners. Power Brand Systems, they empower creators and businesses to build their brand, attract an audience, and grow through effective systems and software solutions. But what do I know, Lee? Just sit back and watch what they have to say for themselves.
Ready to generate more leads from your website, Google, and your social channels without having to spend money on ads? Our platform provides you with an easy-to-use communication stream that sucks in free leads from your website, Google, Facebook, and Instagram, enabling you to reply and convert them into customers from your computer or from our mobile app. We'll even turn your inbound calls into text message conversations, so you'll never miss another lead again. Once you've converted a satisfied customer, you can shoot them a Google review request with a click of a button, which will explode your positive reviews and increase your position in search engines. The system will also pull new reviews from Google and Facebook right into your conversation stream, where you can read and reply. Jumpstart your business by getting started today.
And that is Power Brand Systems. So before we go any further, Lee, I'm flying the banner at the bottom. So they've also created us a tip jar, which I shared on Twitter and Instagram earlier. As we said last week, we don't expect people to support the channel, for want of a better word. But if you do feel empowered to send something our way, which, as we said, would pay for the costs, would pay for the licensing, and once we've covered those costs, it would allow us to do giveaways and maybe bring our wonderful faces in full high definition. Though Gareth didn't seem too impressed by that, Lee.
No, he didn't, did he? He didn't. I don't think he wants his. He likes a soft filter, a soft focus filter on him. The reason we got a tip jar, obviously the partnership's working really well for us. Hopefully it's working really well for Power Brand Systems as well. But obviously we became monetized on YouTube, so you can have these super chats. You get your comments starred. Obviously we read that out on screen. But the thing with that is, YouTube take 30% of that tip whatever it is that you wish to tip us. Whereas the tip jar, we get 100% of that. And that's why it's easier to support us through the tip jar than what it is through Super Chats. And like Paul says, we don't expect anything. If you feel as though you want to support us, that's great, because obviously this all comes out of our pockets, and hopefully we can, if we make enough, upgrade to high definition, and then we might see Gareth turning up wearing a bag on his head.
Nah, I mean, Chris, this is a running joke in Discord. I ain't going anywhere, buddy. I think you've got me mixed up with Naji Karar. He's the one who's got allegiances to other fan bases, and we've got photo evidence. But all jokes aside, I do like the banter on there. And to be honest, I think what Gareth's going to do, Lee, now he's moved house. He teased us on the pod last week with, he had a little bit in the background, didn't he? I think every week he's going to come with something new and not tell us.
Build it up.
And then one day it's just going to be like a massive man cave and be like, right, that's what the tip jar was for. So, hey, Shell, trust me, I would love to be able to come back, but lately it's definitely not happening for me this year. Now, we're about 40 minutes in, Lee. You asked me to keep some things back off air. Do you think it's time?
No, not yet, because I've still got quite a bit to do about...
Good. So I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things, so it was when Kyle and John were on stage, and I think it was John that mentioned this, and he actually called out a particular player they've picked up in free agency who they're all really excited about, and that was Isaac Edom. So to be called out for a special mention when we've brought in so many good free agents, that bodes well. So I think I'll be keeping my eye on him and seeing how he performs coming up to the start of the season. It could be that he is our nickel corner.
I was going to say, Bebop asked that earlier, and I wasn't sure whether we were going to address it, because I know when I was watching John Chapman and Wayne Breezy, yesterday's show that I watched today, they did a full breakdown on the corners and what they felt was the best group in our division. So I won't spoil that for anyone. So yeah, Bebop, maybe we've got him already. That's what we use John and Kyle. And apparently, Lee, people are liking your message. David Betteridge mentioned it earlier, and Kev Williams has put there that he's put a tip in there and it was worth it to enjoy your wonderful thank you message.
Cheesy. Do you think it was cheesy? It took me all day to make that.
To be honest, right, we'll share a little secret. Since we've gone onto YouTube, you'll have noticed that we've tried with a couple of shorts. And I must admit, Lee, it's not as easy.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
As I thought it was going to be. So
it's a lot
I can poke fun at myself. I know I like to talk. And when Lee said, everybody, I'm going to have to start doing adverts for these shows, Paul, about 60 seconds. I thought, absolute easy, I can do that. And the first couple I've done, it takes you. The ones on there have
it's
taken
like a minute
me,
and a half, 2 minutes. So you have to cut them down. You have to do it again. Halfway through, you'll make a mistake, like I did on this video. I recorded that video at least a dozen times before I got to a point where I was happy with it. And I wasn't really that happy with it, because you'll notice about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through, there's a little pause, and you can see the cogs are ticking, thinking, what's the next word that's supposed to come out my mouth? So it was done because Power Brand Systems was saying, I need the video now before we can put the tip jar in. So I got it done, and obviously I kind of put a little bit of a production value on that with the logo and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, regardless of whether or not it was cheesy.
If it makes you feel any better, I've been doing a bit of research in the off-season. So as much as I don't watch English football, soccer, for want of a better word, I'm really enjoying the overlap on Sky Sports on YouTube. And Gary Neville has to do a cheesy advert halfway through, and he is obviously getting paid to do this, and he really struggles. And I think if they can struggle, it makes me feel a little bit better, Lee. So that's next on your list, because I kind of...
Okay, so did you notice the burn that Bosa handed out?
Go on. Possibly, but...
It was subtle, and it's probably gone over most people's heads. So anybody in the comments, if you watch the State of the Franchise, when they were asking Nick Bosa various different questions, I think if I told you the question, it would kind of give it away a little bit. Well, actually, no. So they were asking Nick Bosa, what's your impression of Sorensen, Nick Sorensen.
I think I know where you're going with
So
this. Yeah.
there was a burn came, and it was a subtle burn, and I really liked it.
Well, while we're giving people the chance to put it in
Yeah.
the chat, I want to rip off an idea from John Chapman and Wayne Breezy, and I need
Come on,
the
then.
help of the faithful. So if you watch their shows, when they start, and Brad Graham does the same, they ask the fan base to do a hashtag. So if you're watching John Chapman and Wayne Breezy, it's hashtag CC. If you watch Brad Graham, it's the hashtag SDS. And I need one for us, Lee. I want something that's quite sharp and just for us. So when people tune in on a Wednesday, they can drop a hashtag. Now, the only one I kept thinking of is for our wonderful awards show. And
Yeah, for FUK, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And I was thinking, shall we run with that? Because equally, part of this being state of the franchise is we're trying to give you guys an insight into. We've been running the YouTube channel for over a year now, and it's kind of your content as well. So I want to kind of say, yeah, Lee, you've put it on there. I think that one's a good one. That, and I like what Shell has put as well. So that might be, people might struggle with that one. So moving forward, I'm going to take a screenshot of this and I'm going to share it. I would like when we do the pods, when we do the shows, that when people come in the chat, they drop one of those hashtags. Now, I don't think anybody else has got the subtle burn because there's no comments I can see at the moment, unless everyone's typing the answer.
Okay, so the subtle burn. So obviously Nick Bosa was asked about Nick Sorensen. What's your first impressions about him? How do you think he's gonna perform as the defensive coordinator? Because you've known him for a few seasons now. And Nick Bosa turned around and said, yeah, well, I think he's going to do a really good job. You can see just by his mannerisms, by the way, he's calling players, getting the players together. He's got bits that mirror both Demeco Ryans and Salah, two good coaches. Does not mention Steve Wilkes at all.
No, I mean, I
not
did.
a jot.
Now you've said that, I was smirking at the time because I remember that coming in. And then I think that was on the back of when they were talking about Sorensen's been doing the, what was the nickname they gave him? Was it the ball hawk? Or
No.
There was something to do with the turnover. And someone will put it in the chat. But basically, before every game, Sorensen kind of gave the rah-rah speech that fired the players up. But he has this competition about getting the ball and the turnovers. And they had a nickname for him, didn't they? And
they did. It was ball something. Yeah.
What's the guy, Greg Papa? He did a really good introduction about it, didn't he? So
he did.
I'm sure the chat.
I mean, I've literally just watched it an hour or so ago, and I can't remember where it was.
We'll find it in the chat. But no, I mean, we know the players didn't gel with Steve Wilkes, and you asked me at the start of the show about Shanahan. Give Shanahan his credit. He tried something, it didn't work. He's rectified it. And hopefully they're going back to maybe something that they've known before by promoting within, you said it on our podcast. There was times when we were doing the pods when Salah, some of the fan base were calling for him to be sacked.
Yeah.
I remember doing those pods and, D'Amico Ryans wasn't lights out straight away. He didn't struggle as much as Salah did. But I think when you look back on their tenures, we were all kind of guilty about our rose-tinted glasses. And you look at the coaching tree, they said that at the start, on the state of the franchise last night, that it's part of being a successful organisation that you lose these key pieces. I mean, the D-line room have lost people this year. I think the coach has gone off somewhere else. No saying Chris Kasurak might, I'll say, struggle, but he's having to embed a few new people in behind the scenes. And that's why maybe it was vital that Bosa came in from day one. And that was good to see. People might say, oh, Paul, you're banging the drum. You're overstating that importance. But like you said, didn't sign his contract till September last year, and it showed. So seeing him coming in the building early, I'm over the moon, mate.
Yeah, definitely. There was an interesting stat that they brought up as well last night or the day before. 6-0 in playoff games at Levi's.
Yeah, I did.
So we have kind of made it a fort. I wouldn't call it a fortress, but obviously we do play better when we're at Levi's, and we've got the faithful behind us. So that was an interesting stat. And then my last point you already brought up right at the start, and that was Brock mentioned the international fan base.
Well, I had it down in my notes to mention about Kittle and the flag. And then as soon as Brock, it's in capital letters, tipped a nod to the international fan base. And I was just like, that's just amazing. I mean, we can go a circle back to Kittle. Kittle was obviously talking about the passion of the fans. Kittle, Bosa, and Purdy were talking about how our fans travel, when they go to an away stadium and they see the red and gold all over, and I think that's maybe
over everywhere.
Yeah, and that was great to see. Now, the mic drop that I had for the end, but I'm going to mention it now because I know we've got some of the stuff. I loved it when they were going on. So they were like, Nick Bosa, what's your hopes for the season? And he just took a deep breath and went, time to get it done. Mic drop. I was like, yeah, that's how we're feeling at the moment. I mean, I haven't seen too many arguments on social media, but I know there's a few people in the camp now, Lee, that they're getting a bit fed up with Shanahan's tenure. You know, to some people, it's Super Bowl or bust. And I get that. I'm not mocking anyone for that. But if that's how some people's fandom, they see that, that's not how I approach it. But for me, we want to compete. We want to be there or thereabouts. And I think we're going to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think we will.
This year. So, but did you like when Nick said that?
I did. I've actually got it down. I've got it listed down here. Finish the show with, it's time to get it done.
Yeah. Just, so I'll let the cat out of the bag at the start of the show, but look at Red Jet Shell belting out red and gold. So that song never gets old. And do you know what? Tracy's going to kill me. I play that song that much. She started to like sing along to it or hum the song, and she's like, that song. I'm like, yes. So when she watches it back, she's going to kill me, but I don't care. Anthony's come up with his own hashtag there. So all of them are good, but I just think moving forward, when we start getting into the season, I wanted to steal that idea from you, the content creators, and just have our own hashtag.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's good to have. So can you remember what I told you to leave till the end?
Yes, and I've been dying to say it.
So go on then, crack on.
Well, obviously, we've talked a lot on this show about curses and the ridiculous and, you know, not to buy into it. And when it was rumoured that my favourite player for the 49ers, run CMC, baby. Yes. So I will ask where you got that T-shirt from. So obviously last week when we did the pod, I had my homage Run CMC T-shirt on. And then I was like, I can't wear it again this week. So I hung up 23 over the back. Haven't bought Madden for a few years. But I only have a PS4. I play Fortnite with Jasmine every now and again. I'm buying Madden just for that cover. Because I'm delighted, Lee, that we've got a 49er on the front.
Have you seen how much it costs to buy Madden?
I didn't say I'll buy it the day it comes out.
So just
I'll probably buy it next year when it's on like half price sale. But what I'm needing is
used one, resale.
I just think it's exciting. I hung up 23. Red Jet is. Where's the T-shirt from then, Lee? Can you disclose?
It's from Lids on P39. Right. I believe that's where it's from. I believe it's from Lids on P39 because I didn't buy it. Jake Goodbye bought it for me.
Right. I must admit,
believe that's where you got it from.
I picked up the homage one off that American sports store on eBay, which I believe is like they get stuff from Fanatics that's been returned, you know, as an exchange, and they can't do anything with it. And I paid like 14 quid for it a couple of weeks ago, and I absolutely love it. So I want the Angry Runs one, but I'm not paying the postage from America. But that T-shirt is pretty class. So is that why you wanted me to leave it till the end so you could stand up?
No, so because, I wanted to talk about the Madden curse and what you think of it. What you make of this Madden curse, because I've managed to find an article, and I'll put the article in the description of this video after we finished, because it's an interesting read, and I just wanted to, and you can see why people think there's a Madden curse as well. Well, so what do you think of the Madden curse?
The Maddens that I've bought, Lee, I think I've got one with Brady on the front. I think I've got one with Patrick Mahomes on the front. Doesn't look like there's a curse to me when I look back through my previous ones. But again, it's a bit like, I don't want to dismiss it out of hand totally, because I kind of have my own little superstitions. I said last week with Jessica, you know, if we're wearing red, I have to wear red. If I wear CMC jersey and we lose the next week, I'll wear a Nick Bosa jersey, things like that. But I think I was excited to see him get the cover, and I don't think that there's a curse as such, especially after all the stuff with Leeds and that.
How long have you played Madden for?
The first one I bought was probably, I had an Xbox 360 when I first got into the game. And I think I remember...
Mid to late noughties?
Yeah, I think I remember the first time I played. I think it was either Sherman as a Seahawk on the front, or it was Odell Beckham Jr.
Right, so that was 2015.
So, because I got into the sport, didn't I? 2011,
2016,
2012,
so, yeah.
and then I decided I didn't really play video games. But
So
when I
that
started,
that tells a story about why you don't think there's a curse then.
yeah, possibly. Because I mean,
All right.
to be fair, when I first got into the sport, I didn't really play video games. But someone said to me, I think it was my mate, who was a Bears fan, you will understand coverages and what defenses are doing more by playing the game. And that's how I started to learn a bit more. And I used to buy a new copy every couple of years, but the last one I bought, I think, was Madden 20 when it was on sale in COVID for like £8.
Yeah.
And I haven't played it for years, if I'm honest, mate.
So I've been playing Madden since probably the mid to late 90s, and this article only went back to 2001, but it was an interesting article anyway. And there's going to be spoilers if anybody wants to go off and read the article now. But out of the last 25 Madden covers, 14 of them are classed as cursed. How many do you think of those 14 are in the last 10 years?
Given the smile on your face, I'm going to say about 7 or 8. I might be wrong.
Only 2.5, which is why you don't think there's a curse.
I was going to say, it's a bit like the Leeds thing, though. We'd arranged the meetups in Leeds, and obviously it didn't go the result that we wanted, and people were talking about it. But I think either you or Nadji said something about it being ridiculous on one of the pods. So,
yeah. So I mean, so starting in 2000 all the way up to 2012, the only non-cursed Madden covers was 2005, which was Ray Lewis, because he went on to have a fantastic season after that. And there was a half a curse in 2010. It was only half a curse because there was 2 players that were on the cover. One player had a good season, the other player didn't. So it was only half a curse. But yeah, I mean, the noughties, if you were on the Madden cover, that's it. The next season, you were garbage. You didn't do anything. Either you got an injury or you absolutely stunk the place out. Which is why people think there's a Madden curse, because it went on for so long. It was like 12 years where you had a break of real Lewis, and that's it. I mean, most people would look at 2010 with Larry Fitzgerald and Troy Polamalu and call that a curse, because Troy Polamalu, I don't know if he was injured or he just had an absolute stinking season in 2011.
I mean, I knew about it. And like I said there, I think I remember seeing when Brady was on the cover for the Patriots, and I kind of rejoiced in winding a few of the bandwagoners up. But for me, when Patrick Mahomes was on the cover, and I think it was the year after he won the Super Bowl, Lee, and I think Good Morning Football did a piece on it. I mean, I love all things Niners. I love the fact that CMC is on the cover. I like the fact that it's non-quarterback. I like the fact that it is a dynamic player. I was watching one of the shows last week, and they asked one of the content creators who their favourite 49ers player is at the moment. I think it was Breezy. And I was like, I can't just pick one player. How can you pick one player on this team? And that, for me, shows how stacked we are, because I have friends who support other teams who aren't as well stacked as us. They might have 1 or 2 players, Lee, that they can reference, or they've got 1 or 2 jerseys. But here we go. Chris W. Meetup curse versus the Madden curse. Unstoppable force meets an immovable object. But there isn't a meetup curse.
No,
because it was
definitely
smashed.
No meetup curse.
It was smashed in great fashion by this man in Leeds, NFC Championship game. And if you haven't seen the shot on our YouTube channel, you need to go see the shot when you were walking back to the hotel afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I was going to say I hadn't had that much to drink, but I did start taking the shots at half time. But no, I was quite sober that time. I was just drained, absolutely drained, because obviously, was that the night? Was that the night that I was presenting?
Yeah, that was, you were hosting instead of Nick Clark.
That's right.
Half time
That's right.
So Colin has pointed out that Mahomes did get injured, high ankle sprain when he was on the cover with Brady, but he did power through and win the Super Bowl. So to be honest, Colin,
he did.
It's not exactly a great curse if you win the Super Bowl at the end. But
I
know what you mean,
exactly,
buddy. I know what you mean. What you mean. So,
and while we've got Colin on there, Colin, thank you very much for the tip that you sent through. It is much appreciated, buddy.
Yeah, we do appreciate all the support. I was going to say before we finish off, Lee, I know I've mentioned that we've got a few guests lined up over the next few weeks, but I did want to take this opportunity to say to everybody at home watching, if there is anything that you want to talk about, if you want to join us on the show. You don't even have to come on for the full hour. You can join us for 10, 15 minutes to talk about a certain topic. Between now and training camp starting would be the perfect opportunity, because obviously it is the quiet stage of the off season. We're not expecting many things to happen. So if you do want to drop me or Lee, Gareth or Nadji a message with a certain topic or certain things that you want us to talk about. And like I said, Lee, people want to join us on, even for 10 or 15 minutes. Like if we do a call-in show one week, it'd be good to get people on, obviously have a chat.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is there anything else that you want to talk to these good people about?
No, that is it. We've gone through all my notes, all my research. It's time to go and have a beer.
I must admit that T-shirt is awesome, though. When you said to me off air, don't mention the Madden cover, and I thought it's a good job. We have to start the franchise. Yeah, give everyone another look. Yeah, that is pretty awesome. And to be fair, Lee, we'll finish off with, before we headed out to Levi's last year, you very wisely told me to pick my jersey. And I was thinking, what on earth's you on about? I'll worry about that close to the day. And you were like, you will look back on those photos and those memories. And I'm so glad I have 23 on. Obviously, the year he won Defensive Player of the Year. But we're not sure whether it'll be a live or a pod next week. We probably work that out at the weekend, and we will let everybody know. So stay tuned on social media. Keep those notifications switched on. Thank you for joining me, Lee. It has been a blast as always. Mate. Thank everybody in the chat. You've brought the energy as always. As I've said, please like, subscribe, tell all your friends about us. Also, tell everybody about Power Brand Systems, because as you said earlier, Lee, they've been an awesome partner. And I'm looking forward to seeing that partnership grow. But until next time, faithful, all that is left for me to say is stay faithful and go Niners.
Let's get it done. Bang, bang, and
again. San Francisco 49ers deep in the heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, deep Clark. Garrison Hurst, stiff farm going 99. Don't get it twisted, one and all with